You know, it's a little, I think 5-note or two octave deal. It's a. The mama duck can't do that, but she'll say, kind of like a little gather up call. And that little hen, when she starts to talk, she'll have that in her. She'll start, that back part will turn into a quack. Gets down where we are in Christmas. I mean, late in the year, she'll have that big voice looking for a voice. But the end of about everything they do, there's a little, got that little whiny, squealy stuff on the end. Because they're not a big bird, they don't have a lot of air. Sometimes on days when it's real still, or even on semi-windy days like today, it sounds like a duck. So if you, and it's controlling your air, going back to where I started with. Because if you can learn to make your duck call, make tiny little whiny, squealy sounds, you've learned to control your air to down from to.
This fellow back here had a question.
Yes.
Get his hand up.
I did, what are y'all doing with your hands? What's the correct hand position compared to keeping it open, or how you guys have been doing?
Don't do what I do, because I got a horrible bad habit of flopping my fingers.
Well, what's that actually do, and what's the correct way to do it?
And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but if the year before I won the world, I was bad about that blowing contest called Butch taped my 4 fingers together, so I couldn't do like that. But hunting, I've gotten so used to it, I can't get away from it.
Pitching though.
So is either one right or wrong, or it's just different inflection?
Now, you can help. You can make the call pop more.
Right.
If your timing's right, a lot of times you get in a hurry, you get out of time, and it won't sound right. But you can do a lot with your hand.
Okay.
You can kind of preload the call a little bit, but
You gotta be careful.
you gotta be real careful. Real careful. What'll normally happen if you preload too much, you'll squawk, so you got. But I like the front of that note to be clean and the backside of each note to have that little rattle in it. Something about carries good is sound I like and comfortable with it. Work, you know, the deals you find that work for you might not work for everybody else, but you kind of get stuck on it.
Okay.
I tell everybody, just for beginner purposes, do your hand over just like you're going to dip up water.
Yes, good.
You know, and you'll get comfortable with what you can and can't do with your hand. You can close that hand. You can say like this with your hand kind of semi-cup. Like that note, or you can close that hand down a bit, make a lot deeper sound, you know. So you can use your hand much the same way you use your air in the amount of voice or throat that you start the note with. Just when you're starting notes, it's okay to start them with a little bit of voice. Just don't carry it on into the call. Like I was talking about a minute ago, if you do that growly stuff, you go. They never gonna sound like a duck. So it goes a long way. You know, and it all becomes air after that.
That you can open your hand a lot of times, like chattering. A lot of times ducks get close. I like to open my hand wide open to let that sound come out. I don't want to project it. I just want it to be open. The difference, it don't sound real good in here, but if you close your hand up, and when you're in the woods, that sound spread out.
And another thing too, what he's talking about, if you're hunting somewhere and ducks are right here, but it's time to call at them, you may not want to turn that duck call and point it right at them. You know, you put it up and make it sound go out, but it's pretty bad. It's almost like shooting a sound at them. If you know, in the woods especially.
Well, I like to blow down at the water. A lot of times, like they're saying, if they're right here and they're working up, I may blow straight down or I may blow here. But I want to see what they do. I want to see how they react. You know, it might be just one wingtip stops on one duck. That was a good reaction. But you got to be able to see that, but you got to be careful with the call.
When I was talking about holding my gun, a lot of times I carry nippers or those ratchet things with me everywhere I go. You know, I'll cut a limb off a tree. Hopefully it's legal to do, you know, just a little one about that big around and hang my gun up on the strap or whatever right there. But you can, my daddy, when I was growing up, they thought anybody who used decoys was sissies. You know, you hunted in the woods, you waited around, stood up next to the tree, and when you see ducks go by, the guys that couldn't call them, slap their leg. And water splash and make the water ripple. And the ducks circling around over the trees would hear the calling, hear the wings flapping, and see the ripples on the water moving, and then they'd come down. And my daddy said, boy, don't you float that call up. Float that call right down to the water when the ducks get closer. You know, let that sound go out like that. So, you know, it's just.
And you want them ducks hunting that sound up.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine always had a saying, there's a big difference hunting in a big open hole in the woods or just hunting off in the woods. There's a difference between calling through the decoys or calling to them. There's two different things. I struggle with that calling through the decoys deal, but I've watched him do it a bunch and it makes sense. He's pointing to put ducks in the decoys, where a lot of times you get the calling lot, really get your working ducks, they get keyed in on the sound, especially them Christmas, early January ducks. I've seen them, they get right down on the blind looking at times, especially a little young hen or something, but they hunt up that sound. And you got to be careful. If they hunt that sound up too much, they're going to pick you out. Or pick somebody and go, hey, there's something right there.
And another thing too, if you're in a field or something, and you're calling at them, and you can make them land in the wrong place, depending on how the wind is and everything else. You know, when we're talking about calling ducks are coming to us, and we're talking about landing in the wrong place, if a duck goes to land long, you guys all know each other, any of y'all? You know, what's your name? Tim? What? Donnie. And they're hunting, and the ducks come in and they land out there about 65 yards out past your furthest decoy. The next bunch are one single, or 200, or 5 that come off. Where are they going to land? Out there with their mothers. You know, and if you don't get them to leave here pretty soon, Tim's going to say to Donnie, shoot out there and scare them up. Y'all have already stood up and gone, hey, and they just look at you.
I had a fellow do that one time, said if you kill one. I said, man, the duck's too far across that field. That's 80, 85 yards. You can't kill a duck that far shot. I said, yeah, I can. I said, no, you can't. I said, I said, all right. Let's run them off anyway. Go ahead. Show me what you got. Man, he took you. He leaned that across that field. Bear down on that gun. Old greenhead out there with me. I said, golly, Phil, man, what do you shoot? Bear club. He wasn't lying. I didn't think he killed one that far, but he could.
He sure did. Yes, sir.
You guys are hunting all together, say you're in a group of 5, and you can all call just as good as Jim, and see a group of ducks. Everybody grab a duck call and start calling, or you nominate one guy that day.
You know what?
That's what you want to do. Everybody wants to grab a call.
Buckeye, let's say pick up more. Buck Stevens, Slayton, let's pick a few more. You get in the woods hole, we ain't hunting together in about 4 or 5 years. You know what you're going to do? You're going to start every duck in the country, and you ain't going to like nothing.
Yeah.
And you're going to look around, and every time they start to get right, somebody's going to try something just a little bit harder. And we're going to stay there and start looking at each other like a bunch of crazy people. We ain't going to kill nothing. There's a big group over there, about a quarter, that's flat, wearing them out, killing our swing.
Yeah.
We'll start a bunch of ducks, not finish none. The answer to that is, with a bunch of good duck callers, you got to get kind of used to what's going on. Everybody can read ducks. And there comes a point in time where only one guy needs to finish, or everybody needs to know to shut up. Because I guarantee you, it's a fair duck caller against 5 guys that are great duck call operators that aren't used to killing ducks, working together. They'll probably out-shoot you every time.
Years ago, me and Rick Dunn and a fellow named Marty Caleb went hunting together up on where you leave the decoys at? North Black River. A lot of ducks. We did the same thing. We called these ducks, and like I say, start them, can't finish. We did this about 20 minutes, and I looked over at Rick, and he looked at me, and we both said, hey, Marty, you need to shut up. You know, and he gave us the one finger signal. And, you know, pretty soon, you know, we stood there a minute, and we said, hey, look, you know, we're scaring these ducks away because we're all trying to call something better, something different, something unique, to be the one that yanks them in the hole. You know, because like he said, there were some guys about 300 yards away, not only were killing our swing ducks, they were lighting ducks because it may have been 4 or 5 guys in there, but they had kind of figured out how to call together. And I always say, 4 or 5 guys that want to work together can call as good as any